dirt. A new Raider talk show. We having good times. Let's go. It's Mondays with Mikey and my man Murf. So here we are back again. Episode 3 with my good friend. Chilling out, relaxing, Max, and doing some things. It's not the 1990s, but I'm on the scene. Everybody knows we're gonna talk Raiders. Oakland Raiders. Not Vegas Raiders. Until 2020. It's Monday with Mikey and Murf. We talking Raiders and football dirt. Cause we, a new Raiders talk show. We having good times. Let's go. It's Monday with Mikey and Murf. What's up, Raider Nation? It's your boy, Mikey Raider, here with my man, my jack of all trades, my co-host with the most. Murf, introduce yourself and say hello to the world.
What's up, world? Glad to be back here on another fantastic episode of Mondays with Mikey and Murf. Thanks for checking us out. We look forward to talking some more Raiders football here on a Monday night, Mikey.
Yeah, man, we've had like 3-hour shows the last 2 weeks, and we made it a law that we are not going to try to go over 100 minutes, which is like a little more than an hour and a half. So we're going to get it done tonight. So you guys in the audience are going to witness a lot of like, stop, be quiet, we're moving on, because we have to do that for a show's sake. But we got a lot of news. And you know what, Murf? Why don't you rap? People are asking, why don't you rap in the theme song? I'm the one doing it every week.
Well, Mikey, you're the talent, man. You're the guy that knows this stuff. You're the guy that's, you're well-versed. You're a good freestyler. And besides, I'll tell you why. It's tricky to rock a rhyme that's right on time with Mikey. Mikey.
It's trick to rock a rhyme. What is that, like 1980s Beastie Boys?
No, well, close. It's Run DMC, but man, I'm an old school guy. That's all I got. If you want me to rap, you're going to hear some Paul Revere or you're going to hear some Run. That's all I got, man.
Oh, you don't got the drug rap of today's music?
No, I'm sorry. You're gonna get rhyming and stealing from old Murf is what you're gonna get.
I love that stuff. Rap had a weird inclusion. Back in the days, it was like, good music with stories to tell. Then it became hardcore gangster rap. Now it's like drug rap, and then these rappers wear pink curls and like they look. I mean, no disrespect, but they look like women, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And they talk about drugs and prescription pills.
I'm an old school guy, man. I miss like old LL Cool J. Like I love all that. That's great stuff, I mean, but yeah, like you're right. Telling stories, that's
Mama said knock you out.
Yeah, absolutely. And like radio, that's a great album, man. Like I like all that kind of stuff, Eric B and Rakim. Like that's if I'm gonna go hip hop, and I'm a metal guy, but I do like some hip hop. And if I'm gonna go hip hop, I go old school. That's where it was more fun back then. I like it. I like that stuff.
My radio, my mother told me play it loud. Isn't that? I remember that song. I remember that stuff. I grew up on that stuff. Walk this way.
Oh, with Aerosmith, that was fantastic, man. Or I'll tell you the one with Public Enemy and Anthrax, Bring the Noise. Phenomenal song.
Bring the noise.
Oh, hear the drummer get wicked. I mean, you can't beat that stuff, man. Can't beat it.
Oh my goodness. You know what? I want to go back to a child's age and start breakdancing and walking around with my big stereo.
Your parachute pants.
Cardboard breakdance wars. We used to walk around with cardboard. We would see another crew, and instead of shooting them and fighting and calling out colors. That was a good song,
Ice-T was good too. There you go. Yeah.
We would start just breakdancing, Whatever. Hey, but you know what? We could talk all day about nonsense, but you know what? I like this show to be kind of Raider headlines because I haven't put out a lot of videos, so I like doing the headlines. But you know what? As this show progresses real quick, Murf, I promise you, we're going to get into just our topics because we're learning the format of the show. We're going to get better, and we're going to have a lot more fun talking not only Raiders, but life, and then just having a good time.
Yep. Let's do it. Look forward to it.
All right. Are you ready, Brett, for the headlines, breadlines, deadlines? They blow my mind, Murf. I still don't want to pay rent.
Don't do it.
Woo! All right. We are now into the headlines portion of this show. So in quick type Raider news, I spoke about it when I made a couple videos about how Vidal Alexander didn't show up to camp, even though he was suspended for PEDs. I thought that was weird because he was legally allowed to show up and he didn't. And I said, hey, guys, watch this story. And it came to fruition. The Raiders have officially moved on from Vidal Alexander, 7th-round pick. Good riddance, good bat. I mean, he played a few games, but we were really, really needed depth. Mm-hmm. And apparently the Raiders don't see anything from him except problems.
Yeah.
Quick thought on Vidal Alexander leaving?
Yeah, 7th-round pick, no harm, no foul, no big investment there. I mean, that position has been a struggle for us for, gosh, Mikey, it feels like a very, very long time now.
Raiders, Darryl Worley, the cornerback that has taken over for Gary Connolly during his injury, officially pled guilty to his charges that he had in the offseason, hence his release from the Panthers. He pled guilty on June 18th to misdemeanor charges of DUI, carrying firearms in public, and resisting arrest. And I heard he was all in his car drunk with guns and resisting. It's because he didn't open up the window. He didn't understand what was going on. So, that's the cop term of resisting. But what are your thoughts on this? Do you like that he pled guilty so early just to get it over with and try to move on?
Yeah, I mean, the Raiders knew what they were getting into when they signed this guy. And, Darryl Worley is 23 years old, and he's owning his mistake. He's not making excuses. He's not fighting it. He's owning that he made a mistake, and he's moving on. And if anything, I love a redemption story. We should all be so lucky to be redeemed. We should all be so lucky at 23 years old to have enough self-awareness that we can admit a mistake and then move on, because that's the thing. We're all going to goof up. We're all going to do dumb stuff, and your character is not defined by the mistakes you make. Your character is defined by what you do about it. And this guy is owning it. He's moving on, and he's going to take his punishment, and then he's going to go on to having a great career in the NFL, and hopefully that will be with the Raiders. This guy's a heck of a talent, and again, to have that kind of self-awareness, he'll be able to put this thing to rest. He'll take his suspension, and he'll come back. And heck, Mikey, we need him, man. We need corners bad, especially with the injury. Yeah, with Conley not being able to return back. So, I mean, we're looking at Worley. We're looking at Rashawn Melvin. These guys are, these guys, who knows? How much of an impact. We certainly know it's going to be Melvin. Now we're hearing maybe Nick Nelson, right? So anyways, the more healthy we and the better we can be at the cornerback position, the better. And here is a young talent. This guy's got a long career ahead of him, and the Raiders can need him, and we all trust that everything's going to be lovely from here out, that he's learned his lesson. So good for him.
Good for him for getting out in front of it, trying to take charge of his life. I mean, all you can do is respect that. But he did have a DUI, which means driving under the influence. I wish Gary Connolly would have a DUI. Vitamin D under the influence. All right, John Gruden, bringing it back to the old school, basically back to the future with John Gruden, all his players announced that he is showing game film, technique film from the 70s, 80s, and whatever era, and he's showing techniques and play calls and schemes to the players, not only to brush up their history of the game, but in a weird way, you got to think he's showing these techniques because they're basic and they still work in today's NFL. Or do they? That's what the media thinks. The media thinks you cannot go back to these type of plays or techniques, and it makes John Gruden look like the game has passed him on. And I hate this story because it's just getting worse every week about how John Gruden is too old and showing basic game film is bad, and they want to make fun of him. What are your thoughts on this story?
I think that this is more overblown stuff. I don't think there's anything wrong with studying the history of the game. And in fact, if you don't study the history of the game and have somewhat of a reverence for the things that got you to where you are, then I think that's an awful blind, short-sighted way to go about your business. And frankly, this is their business, right? There's a big history out there that happened before the advent of the internet and smartphones. We in today's society, we have such a short term outlook on things that we forget that all these things have happened prior to us and got us to this point. So Gruden's merely bringing in the younger players and educating them on the history that preceded them. Not only on the NFL history, as he's showing them film of Barry Sanders and Dan Marino and Joe Montana, but on Raiders history. He's showing them the Soul Patrol. He's showing them what it was like when Jack Tatum, patrolled at the safety position, or Dr. Death and George Atkinson and not Skip Thomas. I already said Dr. Death, but Willie Brown and all these wonderful players that came up through the ranks of the Raiders. He's educating these players on what that lineage is. What did that look like? Why is Willie Brown revered in Raider Nation? Well, let me show you why. Let me show you what this guy did for this football team. And there are some things that don't change. Now, look, there is a lot that has been changed about this game. We saw it already in the Hall of Fame game. They are changing the way that hits are being delivered. The actual safety position is going to change this year. And so we've seen these evolutions of the game. And yes, there are, in terms of rules and taking the head out of the play and all that stuff, yes, those things have changed. But it's still a pigskin. It's still 100 yards. It's still 11 guys on each side of the ball. You still got 5 offensive linemen. You still got a quarterback. The forward pass is still legal, right? There are some things that don't change. And so by having a reverence for that, what came before you, and then looking at those things like Gruden says, Shula, Chuck Noll, Landry, these guys were freaking the greatest of all time. Why not study what they did? Why not study the approach that they had to the game, their work ethic, their scheduling, all that?
I agree. Man. I agree. It's beautiful from a fan's perspective, but from a media's perspective, knowing that he said at the NFL Combine he wanted to take it back to 1998. This story just creates more media bias of him being old. And I wish he would put a hold on it with his players, letting know what goes on in team rooms within the media, because we'll talk about that in a minute. I think some of the things in the Raiders locker room and some of the stuff that's going on is not being controlled. And we're going to get into that in a couple segments with tweeting and all that. But hey, I love the fact that it's showing film. I just don't love the fact that the media is able to laugh about it because the players are laughing about it on press conferences.
Yeah, F the media, man. I'm so over the media, mainstream or otherwise, and especially in terms of the reporting on radio.
We're the media, Murf.
No, we are not. Don't lump me in with that. You can be part of it. Not this guy. I'm telling you. Apparently. I'm going to rally against it because I don't like, number one, I don't like untruth, and I don't like misrepresentation. And a lot of what these quote media people are finding is that they're misrepresenting what these things actually are. Don't misrepresent. I don't need spin. And that's the thing. And I'm not trying to be all Bill O'Reilly here and try to be all with rhetoric. I mean seriously, give us the news. Then let me critically think my way through it. Then let me work on what that means. Just tell me John Gruden is showing old film to players. Stop, period. Then let me talk about it. Then let you talk about it. Then let us decide for ourselves. Don't tell me, Mr. Media Member, what this means, because you don't freaking know. Let me decide. Just give me the news.
They're trying to get noticed. There's so much content in the world.
Exactly.
Again,
that's the problem. That's the problem.
So I don't hate on them for doing it, but they're just trying to get noticed, and doing their job. But they have to put these titles and this stuff and create stories. And it's a sad way to look at it, but sometimes I wouldn't read these stories if I didn't read that title. So I'm just saying it does bring me in. All right, why don't you introduce this story about Martavis Bryant?
Yeah, this was actually a new one to me, Mikey. I wasn't familiar with this story until we reviewed our show notes for this week. So, John Gruden says that he's not pleased with Martavis Bryant. I listened to a lot of John Gruden clips this week, and I had not heard this, but it said that it wants him to play better, wants him to learn the offense. The only thing that I heard Gruden refer to about Bryant this week was that he was ill, that he got sick. And he wasn't
in the press conference, the last press conference.
Okay, so all I heard from before that was that he got sick and that he wasn't able to compete, and that's been it. So I hadn't heard this whole rhetoric about him wanting to play better and learn the offense. So
he called him out, and that's why I don't like it. He literally called him out. They asked him about Martavis Bryant, and he goes, "Well, he's got to play better. He's got to learn the offense. He can't just come in here and be." And then I don't know the exact words, but he's like, I would air it, but you guys know I don't want to air anything from the Raiders network or trademark like that. So but he definitely called him out. And I don't know why he did that. I mean, calling out players in front of the media, yes, it creates headlines. And John Gruden is trying to prove he's the boss. But like for a young player like Martavis Bryant, who has issues with being called out by players or coaches, as he did in Pittsburgh, my God, this is a huge. I would be hurt if I was Martavis. I know he needs to get better, play better, but I don't like the fact that John Gruden did it in front of the media. I hope he did it in the locker room.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're making the assumption that, when these statements were made, that the conversation hadn't already happened between he and Martavis. And I mean, so that's, look, it's okay to have sometimes your boss is going to tell you, look, we need you to be better. We need you. Look, here's an area that you need to play better at, or here's an area of your playbook.
Yeah, but you don't need to tell the media right after. You don't. You do. It's none of their business. Now they're going to be watching. Well, now
hold on. Now you just rallied there on behalf of the media, talking about how they were going to try to expose all this stuff, and now you're going to give them a hard time about.
Did John say it? He shouldn't have done it. If he talked to Martavis Bryant. You don't need to tell the media 2 minutes later.
I'm assuming I'm working on assumptions here because I did not hear this. So, again, Raider Nation, don't kill me on this because I hadn't heard it. But I'm assuming that he was asked a question and you're not just going to go out there and hit the podium and be like, all right, let me tell you about Martavis. No, he sucks today.
Well, no, they asked how does Martavis Bryant look? Like, because he came back off of the injury. And they said, how does Martavis Bryant look? Then Gruden immediately, he's got to play better.
Well, is it true?
That's a call out. I mean, it's true, but now the spotlight even more is on Martavis. Now the media is looking for stories. So any pass he drops, I don't know. It just feels like unwanted pressure. If he talked to Martavis, it's like me and you, Murf. If I was about to do the show and you were like, Mike, you got to talk less or you got to do better or something, I'm not going to immediately get on the show.
I don't want to tell you that in front of all the people. I don't want to tell you that.
It bothered me. It just bothered me.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it could potentially violate trust. You know what I mean? And you kind of put a guy on blast. I get that. I fully respect that. But again, we don't know what happens inside the walls there at Napa or Alameda or anywhere else. So we as fans are left to interpret this stuff, which is what I just said we want to be able to do. So that's fine. I think that your criticism of it is fair. You don't want to publicly put a guy on blast like that.
He wants to light a fire under him.
But that's the other thing though too, is this part of Gruden's style? Is this a way of him motivating Martavis Bryant? Look, they've got a 3rd round pick invested in him. After that, not so much. So, Gruden, is he looking at it like, look, this guy needs to snap out of it and I'm expecting him to produce even here at training camp. If they're going to get something out of him, he better do it right away because he's not going to get a contract from the Raiders if he doesn't show something quick and early, right?
He's got to play better. Gruden wants to light a fire under his butt, but I don't know. I just don't like the way it was handled, but that's Gruden's style, and fair. I have to shut up and accept it because that's who John Gruden is. Moving forward, speaking of more disrespect, with all the news about Khalil Mack not coming into camp, not being signed, that they haven't talked to him. Well, our favorite First Take. This is we're like First Take for the Raiders.
Oh, I know.
We're like ESPN's First Take for the Raiders with Mikey and Murf instead of Stephen A. and whoever else. But Stephen A. went on a rant, and you all know that I rant. So I'm going to listen to this rant, and we're going to discuss if we like what they said or they didn't. You got that audio,
Khalil
Murphy?
Mack, you got to pay him. And the argument that, we could have been a terrible defense with or without him is a stupid argument because it's not that he's on the team and you're bad. It's that he's the only good player. You need him, and you need more good defensive players.
Max Kellerman, you are right, but you're missing a couple of things, and I'll bring it up about our former colleague here at ESPN. One of the things you didn't bring up was the word arrogance, and I'm going to bring it up. I'm saying that's how he comes across specifically with this situation. 10 years, $100 million deal. From what I'm told, guaranteed. It also includes incentives that can throw in an extra 18 to 20 million. Nobody ever brings that up. This is for a man who has not won a playoff game since 2002. His last 6 years coaching in the NFL, he made the postseason twice. Lost both games.
That was almost ready in the first place to win.
But I'm saying that's the last time he won, when they won the Super Bowl in Tampa Bay. When he was when after being in Oakland, he was 1 year, the first year in Tampa Bay, which was 2002. That's when they won the Super Bowl. He's never won a playoff game since. And then he coached until 2008. And since then, he's been gone for a decade. But he got $100 million. That's a brother feeling himself right there. You paid the playmaker, but gonna hold out on me. I'm saying that to you, even though Khalil Mack is a defensive player coming off 10.5 sacks, 78 tackles. What I'm talking to you about is, of all the problems that exist with the Oakland Raiders, you calling me out?
Yeah.
You acting like I'm a part of the problem? You just got here. You haven't even won a preseason yet. The preseason game yet, John Gruden?
Giants.
Oh, you got jumped on it.
Giants will take them off their hands if they don't want
I'm just saying.
Woo.
Let me go at this one. I don't know what type of frame of mind I've been in lately, and in defense of Khalil Mack and seeing Gruden call out Martavius Bryant, I heard a lot of fact from Stephen A. Smith, whether you want to like it or not. I heard a lot of fact. And then he mentioned the word arrogance of John Gruden. And you know what? I don't know why, but I'm feeling that statement, Murf, like with John Gruden calling out Martavius, game film in the media. He's got a possible little bit of an ego, and it's showing from my perspective. So I gotta agree with Stephen A. Smith a little bit. What has he done for the Raiders? What have you done for us lately? Dun, 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 dun. I don't know. I don't know why, Murph. That's how I'm feeling today. And in defense of Khalil Mack, Gruden got paid. He hasn't done nothing. Khalil Mack has done something and hasn't got paid. I don't know.
Okay, let me address a couple things there. First off, you mentioned that there's arrogance, right? That there's potential arrogance there with John Gruden. All right. Well, duh. Name me a head coach that's not arrogant, and I don't mean that necessarily as a knock. You could call it confidence. Right. They all have a faith in their ability. They all think they can win the Super Bowl every single year, from the worst head coaches to the best head coaches. They all have these inflated egos. That's why they are who they are. And let alone you add a title of GM to them, which John Gruden doesn't officially have that title, but we all know the amount of control he has on the team, or at least on personnel decisions. And then you add a big, giant 100, quote, reported, still never been confirmed, $100 million contract. All right, so there is a lot of truth to that. I'm with you. There is a lot of truth to that. What, again, I get derailed on is that those things that Stephen A. was saying there, that's all conjecture, though. That as far as the relationship between Gruden and Mack, that's all speculation. The facts are not that. The facts are this. Mack hasn't participated, and I'm reading this from RaidersSnakePit.com. Shout out to those guys. Steve Corcoran does an amazing job. Here's the facts, Raider Nation. Mack has not participated in any team-related activities. McKenzie and Gruden have stated publicly how much they want him back. Mack is slated to earn almost $14 million for the season on his fifth-year option. The Raiders do not have to give him a long-term extension. Mack has accrued enough seasons to become an unrestricted free agent. The Raiders at any time can seek a trade. The Raiders' defense is in big trouble without him. Mack has the upper hand in terms of leverage. The Raiders can make any new contract work in regards to the salary cap with little difficulty, and Mack won't need much time, if any, to get into football shape. Those are the facts. That's it. Everything else is speculation. All this, and look at Stephen A. comes from the same kind of household that I grew up in. He who is loudest wins. He likes to scream and yell and make a big deal. And so that's the same house that I came from. But it doesn't make him right. It doesn't make him accurate. It just makes him loud. And that's what that show is all about. And that's what we are all about sometimes too. You mentioned we're like the first take for Raider Nation. But the bottom line is that it's opinion. The facts are those 10 things I just read you. After that.
But the facts are John Gruden hasn't won in many years.
Well, what does that have to do? What does that have to do with Khalil Mack?
He won a playoff game with Tampa Bay. Those are facts. They're not good facts, but they're facts.
None of that has anything to do with Khalil Mack. And anybody that interpreted John Gruden's statement, I heard that one, And what he says was that when we were talking about Khalil Mack and bringing him in, and he said, look, we weren't that great without him. We're with him last year. That wasn't taking a shot at Khalil Mack. That was taking a shot at the 10 other chumps that they had on defense, saying, look, we are not that great of a defensive football team. We could have a superstar like Khalil Mack on the team, and it doesn't make – That's what he was trying to say, but everyone wants to spin it. Everyone wants to misinterpret what he was trying to say.
I just enjoy, and I just heard maybe I'm a little pissed at Gruden this week. I don't know, but I liked what I heard from Stephen A. Doesn't mean I agree with him. Let's wait till we start playing it. Let's wait. When we're 6-10 this year, then we can all rally against John Gruden. Hey, I'm a Raider, and I'm a stand by Gruden, but I am getting a little worried because that's what I do. Experts, Mike Florio and a GM for the Redskins made a statement that the Raiders should trade Khalil Mack. I've been speaking about it, and I still stand by my statements. I believe he'll be a member of this team, and he'll be franchised, maybe disgruntled in the next 2 seasons after this year. But do you think the Raiders should trade Khalil Mack and get some value all of the Patriot way or whatever? Because it looks like Mack may be disgruntled, and it ain't going to go his way because the Raiders hold all the cards.
Well, we know there's a standoff between Aaron Donald and Khalil Mack, and he who signs first, right, the next guy is going to win because he's going to ask for a similar contract. And the rumors are that Aaron Donald's been offered, $25 million, and he wants more. Like, he's already been offered quarterback money, and he wants more. Now, those are rumors. But if there is truth to that, all right, and that's what Khalil Mack is looking for, is a pass rusher like him. Is he worth $25 million? I don't know, man. That's a lot of friggin' money. I mean, he's not
even worth 20 in my mind.
Okay, all right. So, I mean, is it then worth to hamper your team's salary cap position to bring in a player like that? Now, look, I'm a firm believer that he plays the second most important position on the field, and I think most experts, I'm not calling myself an expert, but I think most of football analysts, not Mark Florio, by the way, he's an idiot, but when you look at football analysts, franchise quarterback is your number one goal. Number two is somebody to rush the other team's franchise quarterback. Well, that's what we're talking about with Khalil Mack. And we're talking about, if not the best defensive player, the best pass rusher in the league, he's certainly on the super, super short list of guys to do so. But even that said,
should they trade him?
If he wants $25 million and he's not going to sign for anything less than that, the answer to that question is that no, you shouldn't trade him, okay? The short answer is no, you don't trade him because you just franchise tag him. But if you get to a point where you can't tag him anymore and he wants $25 million, would I let him walk after 2 more years of his service and now he's getting up approaching 30 years old? I might.
I agree.
I certainly might.
I agree. Tag him.
But I might.
You got him this year, tag him.
That's a lot of money, man. You only got so much room to go. You only got so much room to sign players, and despite him being an all-world player, now look, I don't think any of this is going to happen, and I think once cooler heads prevail, look, we know that Khalil and Derek Carr are best friends. We know that these are the 2 best players on our football team. We know their legacy is tied to one another. We know that all these things are a fact, and I think that by the time it's all said and done, again, cooler heads will prevail, and Khalil Mack will be a Raider forever. That is my heart of hearts. I believe that's the truth. Now, what happens to that to get all that to work? That I don't know, and I don't think any of us do, and that's to remain to be seen. But at the end of the
do not trade Mack. Do not trade Mack. Franchise tag him and use him for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, we got to move on, brother.
Yeah, we're good.
In Raider fan news, some fans sent me this. They created a GoFundMe. I thought it was hilarious because they specifically wanted $100 million. I don't even know if that would sign Mack, according to these rumors.
Maybe on a 4-year deal.
I just thought it was hilarious, and I wanted to share that because at least Raider Nation is trying to get Khalil Mack signed.
That's pretty funny.
But nobody's donated, so I don't know that I know of.
Yeah, I got like $6 maybe for that. Like that, not much.
Yeah, I don't know. I could probably donate $10 somehow.
Yeah.
I just won't have a damn Carl's Jr. meal plan for that week or whatever. But hey, speaking of social media and insecurity and people being insecure like me with haters, Ryan Switzer, called out somebody who wrote to him that said something bad. And he's like, do you follow me to tweet negative things? And it went on. And then Ryan Switzer responded, and I make more in one day than you'll ever do in your life, throwing money out there. It became a fight. It became a social media fight, insecure, and it just bothers me. I don't want to see this with the Raiders, because last year with insecurity and Donald Penn, getting in a fight with a fan, Michael Crabtree getting in a fight because he was insecure with Aqib Talib and had to get his manhood back. I just cannot. I do it all the time. I'm an insecure bee, so I'm one to talk. So I know who I am. I'm just as bad as all of this, but I just wish the Raiders would get a hold on this and get some stronger-willed players. I don't know how or take them off of Twitter. You can't do that. I don't know what to do. I just don't like seeing this stuff, Murph. Just quick thoughts on this. I can't stand social media, brother.
Yeah, I'm with you. Ryan Switzer's a young man, and he got hooked, by something somebody said. As you mentioned, I kind of got
triggered.
I got involved in this here, and I reached out to Ryan, and my quote to him was what I don't know if you're Game of Thrones fans or any Game of Thrones fans listening, but Papa Lannister famously says in that show, the lion does not concern himself with the opinions of the sheep. And that's, look, you can't concern yourself with the opinions of some random guy on Twitter. And, when I tweeted that quote to Ryan, that guy that you're showing on the screen there, that President McLeod, he tweeted me and said, you know what, man, I was just kind of bummed that it didn't work out with the Cowboys. Well, so that's really the root cause.
But write that. Right, I'm bummed,
well,
man.
But here's the thing. So that's exactly why, as professional athletes, and even guys like you and me, Mikey, we can't get hooked by the feedback. You got to just stick to what you do. You got to stick to your plan. You got to stick to what you know is best. You got to do what you feel is the best in our world, the best product that we can create, and our best effort to put out as far as our show quality goes. And then after that, it's up to people to do whatever they want with it. If some of them aren't going to like it, and that's okay. Some people aren't going to like the way Ryan Switzer plays football, and that's okay. At the end of the day, I'll give you the Lannister quote. I'm going to give you one more. Buddy Ryan famously said, if you listen to the fans long enough, eventually you'll sit with them. I don't listen to them. Not that I don't appreciate feedback. Don't take that the wrong way. And I love our feedback, and everybody's very kind about the thing. We've got a lot of great, wonderful things said to us. But when people hate on us, delete. I'd move on. Move on.
We're going to get into stock up and stock down on offense. On defense, you give me one player that on offense and defense that you believe their stock has risen. Do you have a player in mind that stock is up on offense and defense?
Yeah, offensively, we talked a lot about him last week, and I'm still on the Jordy Nelson bandwagon. And if I could throw in another wide receiver, Ryan Switzer. I mean, we did a lot of talk about Ryan Switzer this week, but I know you only asked for one, so I'll just stick with Jordy Nelson. Jordy, he reportedly ran 22 miles an hour on the speedometer on the radar gun at camp, and he's catching everything. So, not only is Jordy, and this is what Derek Carr said this week all at practice, was that not only is he's still got the physical gifts, but he's sharing and he's teaching and having these moments with the younger receivers. And he even referred about how Aaron Rodgers might be waking up in the middle of the night and trying to break off phone calls to Jordy Nelson going, come on back, because I think that Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are going to miss Jordy greatly this year, and I'm fired up to watch him in a Raiders uniform.
All right, what about defense? Whose stock is up in your mind?
Markel Lee, I'm a big fan of. I think that he is in prime position to really take a hold of an inside linebacker spot. We need one badly. He's a young guy, and we've already seen him demonstrate the ability to read and stop the run. He's got to work on his coverage skills a little bit, but as long as we get some health and some production out of our safeties, and we got guys like Obi coming downhill that can help cover, then I think that becomes less of a concern. I'm fired up about Markel Lee, man. I might be buying into the hype a little bit, but we really need him as a player. He's a
What
smart,
hype? I haven't heard any hype.
Well,
You're the hype.
Well, okay, then I'll take it. He's a smart guy from Wake Forest, man. Like, I mean, he's got all the things, tangible and intangible, to be a good player. And again, we really need him. So everything that I've read and heard about him so far in camp has been nothing but positivity. So hopefully those things are accurate.
I remember more from him last year going into the preseason games.
Yeah,
as opposed to this year because we got Derek Johnson. But I did read a few things that said he was looking good.
I think he's one of those guys that's going to make that jump quick. I think he's one of those kind of players that we're going to see a year-to-year production jump that, you'll find if you're going to hit on a late round guy, you're not going to hit on him early. You're going to hit on him in year 2 or 3, and that's where we're at. So Markel Lee, he's my guy.
Well, on defense, I'm going to have to go with the obvious choice. I mean, it could be Mario Edwards. I don't know what's going on with him, but I'm going to say Garyon Conley, and I'm going to keep it short. I don't need to talk about all the issues. Garyon Conley's stock has went down again for a second year in a row. And then on offense for stock up, I'm just going to state the obvious. It's Donald Penn. I mean, he's such a big name with the injury. They drafted Colton Miller in the first round. He's getting a lot of praise in camp. Stock has went up for Colton Miller, possibly starting the first regular season game as opposed to Donald Penn. And who even knows if Donald Penn will be on the team? It's a little interesting camp story that's happening behind the scenes. But that's my stock up and stock down for both of us. All right. The Raiders need to pick captains. I don't know when they officially do it, but I just wanted to throw this out there. Pick 2 captains on offense and defense that you would want to throw them the title of captain. That would be good for the team.
Well,
2 on offense, 2 on defense.
Yeah, it's tough as fans because we don't know these guys personally, right? We don't get to share meals and work out and practice and all that stuff like they do with one another. So we're only limited to the press conferences and what we hear reported on interactions and things like that.
Real quick, can I cut you off?
Please.
I didn't give my stock up.
Well, you said Colton Miller.
No, that was stock down. That was stock down for Donald Penn.
Okay, who's your stock up on defense?
Yeah, so my stock up for defense is Arden Key.
Oh, good
I'll
one.
just
throw
it. He's in all the media reports, which is great for us. And then my stock up on offense, I'm going to have to say it's the obvious choice, just like with you. Well, I already said it. You're right. Colton Miller, there we go. All right, now back to the captains.
All right, so not knowing these guys, that well, you can only go off of what you see, what you read, whatever. So based on that criteria, Derek Carr and Rodney Hudson are my 2 offensive captains. Those guys, the rapport between those two has been fantastic. We talk about leaders on the team, man. Hudson he's not a big gregarious guy, or he's a big guy, but he's not gregarious. Like, he's not a huge personality that's out on the press conferences and whatnot. You don't really hear a lot from him, but all the reports of his leadership that he on the field and the way that him and Derek are just kind of really directing the offense, it's awesome, man. And I love that these 2 guys have the rapport that they do. So offensively, Rodney Hudson and Derek Carr. Defensively, he's not in the dang building yet, but Khalil Mack is going to be a captain. So to pick another person on defense to go with him, I'm going to go with Tahir Whitehead. I think, again, inside linebacker is such a big need for this team, and I'm just a fan of the inside linebacker being the quarterback of the defense. I know that, the league has kind of moved away from that strategically, having that Ray Lewis or Brian Urlacher, right, patrolling the middle of the field. But I still think that there is some semblance of that, and you still need to have somebody make the calls and to have the green dot on their helmet, and it's probably going to be Whitehead. So I think that giving him a captain role, he's a veteran, he's still in his prime, like he's not a total old head like Derek Johnson is. He's kind of in the middle, right? So he's got some ability to him, and he's got got a veteran status. So I think Tahir Whitehead has got to be a captain on defense, but he'll probably go to Reggie Nelson.
Well, speaking of Reggie, he's one of my captains on defense. People would be like, why? Look, I'm not going to get into it. I just think he's a veteran, and maybe if you throw him the title of captain, he'll stop overrunning routes. Maybe he'll play that much better if you give him the title of captain in his last year with the Raiders in Paul Guenther's scheme. But I definitely agree with you, and I changed my opinion on mine. I was going to go with give it to Mo Hurst just to see what he does. But you're right. I think publicly they should give it to Khalil Mack right now, no matter if he's in camp or not.
Yeah.
And that would just be a public statement that says we love you and we want you. And that would be a nice little transition to maybe get them a little bit closer together. On offense, my two captains, of course, it's always going to be Derek Carr. You always want your quarterback to be the captain, in my opinion. And you know what? I want to give it to Marshawn Lynch.
Oh.
I want to. I don't care.
Hey, last year probably in Oakland, like why not? I think that's a nice gesture. I'm with you.
After whatever turmoil, whether he was in shape or not, he really put it together, kind of shut his mouth, did his job, and I really respected that. And he looks like he's having fun in the preseason or the training camp, and I just think Marshawn deserves it, and I would like him to have that title, and I think it would be really, really good. All right, now let's get into some camp review positions. Let's just quickly talk about the position review. So we're going to go into quarterbacks. I'll start, if you don't mind, Murf, just to get it out of the way.
Please.
We all know Derek Carr's the starter. He's looking very good in camp. I don't believe he's thrown an interception from what I've read or heard. And John Gruden I think he's really, really impressed. I think John Gruden is more impressed than he thought, to be quite honest with you, with the way Derek Carr has been handling this camp. In terms of Connor Cook and E.J. Manuel, they are definitely in a battle. E.J. Manuel, being the veteran, being the early round draft pick, has a leg up. But I truly believe that John Gruden is giving them both the opportunity to succeed. I don't know if we're going to hold 3 quarterbacks, but I'm definitely looking forward to the preseason games to see who comes out and looks that much better. Connor Cook has not thrown deep balls as much as Gruden would have liked, and E.J. Manuel sticks to what he knows, which are what the short throws. And Connor Cook and E.J. Manuel, there's only been 1 interception in camp, according to Gruden. So the quarterback position, I think Gruden is happy with it. What are you on the quarterback review?
Yeah, it stops and starts with Derek Carr, man. I mean, it's almost like I guess you address it because you have to. But I mean, I like E.J. Manuel because he's cool and he was on our show, and something about
you love everybody that's on your show.
Heck yeah, man. Hey, Keith Smith, Andrew DiPaolo, OB, all these guys, I love them.
Thank you. Congratulations, you got some amazing people. I'm so proud.
They're very gracious with their time, man. They're it's a lot of fun. So, but something about Connor Cook I just never liked. I mean, they're all him. Speaking of captains and not being named a captain his senior year at Michigan State because he was all reports an asshole. So I mean, I was never liked the guy. So and look again, I've never had dinner with him, but if an entire football team tells me that he's a asshole, all right, I'll agree with you. So I don't know. I'm rooting for E.J. Manuel there, but it's Derek Carr, man. So aside from injury, and look, if Derek Carr gets injured, we're screwed. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, we've seen that already happen once before. Like, it doesn't matter. E.J. Manuel is not going to turn into, Johnny Unitas tomorrow.
I don't feel they've addressed the backup quarterback situation greatly in the previous few seasons. I don't think they've really greatly addressed it with a good backup. I don't think they have one.
No, and, it's a tough thing to do, man, because it takes an investment to get a good quarterback. It doesn't. The Jimmy Garoppolos of the world don't happen very often. You don't draft a guy. What was he, a 3rd rounder or whatever? You know what I mean? And then you sit behind Tom Brady for a couple, like that. Was he a 3rd rounder? I can't remember off the top of my head.
Who cares? He hasn't even happened in my mind yet.
There you go. But anyway, point being though is that you don't find those late round gems at quarterback very often. It just doesn't happen. And if you do, it takes years for those guys to develop. They don't just turn into great quarterbacks right away. So look, I don't know. I mean, it's such a funky thing to address. Look, we've got a franchise quarterback. The Raiders have done very well in getting a franchise quarterback. Let's do everything we possibly can to protect him and to keep him healthy, and that way we don't have to worry about who's number 2 on the depth chart. That's what I think.
Yeah, I'm a little pissed. I think they should address the backup quarterback depth, but John Gruden wants to see what he has, and we're definitely going to find out what we have with our backup quarterbacks during the preseason. Running backs. Let's talk about your camp review of the running back position.
I like them both. I like both. Obviously, you like Marshawn. You like Doug Martin. You like them for what they've done in the league in the past, and you hope that they still have a little bit left in the tank. I would like my vision for this as a fan. I like the idea of them going back to something like we used to see with Zach Crockett and Tyrone Wheatley. Now, maybe that's, again, just too much of a fan stance and longing for those days back in the early 2000s when, Zach Crockett had, 10 touchdowns on the year and used to, if you were inside the 5-yard line, you knew who it was going to go to. And so I miss those days, and I think that we should have used Marshawn in that capacity much more last year than what we did. I think that he needs to be a guy inside the 20s, or inside the 20 to the goal, inside the red zone, not the guy in between the 20s for the middle of the field. And I hope that we get back to a little bit more of that. But in order to do that, right, you got to have an effective passing game, right? You got to be able to move the ball. And so, maybe with some play action, some other things, it'll just it'll free up a lot of things that we didn't see last year, and that will certainly help. But anyway, that's my vision. I would like to see Doug Martin and Marshawn do what Zach and Tyrone did back in the day. And, I don't know what else to expect there. I mean, because it's Richard and Washington, we've seen what that looks like. They're not setting the world on fire. So it's got to be one of those two guys, or both of them, or some sort of union of Marshawn and Doug to give us the production in the run game. You just don't know yet. But I do know this. I know Keith Smith is a heck of a fullback. I know Lee Smith is a heck of a blocking tight end. I know Derek Carrier's a heck of a blocking tight end. I know that now that we got our offensive line kind of figured out and we have a great offensive line coach that can run all kinds of different hybrid fronts that can create room for the running backs, I and a lot of people think that we're going to see a lot more production out of these guys. And if we catch another year of production out of Doug and Marshawn, great. But then this offseason, it's time. It's time to start drafting. It's time to start dressing in with some youth after this.
Completely correct. Probably Marshawn's last year. He'll have a great year. Doug Martin, we'll see how he succeeds in his 28th year in the league, whatever. But I think they're backups to each other. I think Marshawn and Doug Martin are backups to each other.
They're co-headliners.
Whichever way that works.
They're co-headliners.
And, the DeAndre Washington, Jalen Richard experiment is going to happen this preseason with John Gruden watching. Richard's been injured. I don't know how he feels about them. He brought in a running back, an undrafted running back, that had a lot of good statistical stuff at his college. Forgive me, James Brown. That's probably not his name.
The Butler.
Yeah, hit me with hot self. Hey, James Brown. I don't know. But you brought in James something. Again, I'm not a professional analyst. Relax, Raider Nation. But he wants to see the pass game with the Raiders progress. And I don't think he believes Jalen Richard or DeAndre Washington or Dwayne Washington. Why am I freaking out with names today?
It's DeAndre.
I don't think he has it. I don't think Gruden truly believes 100% that either of those players will be perfect. So he's bringing in camp running backs, and he's experimenting. I truly do not know if we have a future in 2019 at running back on this team. I don't think we have a running back in 2019 that is on this roster, and that kind of scares me. That's my camp report for running backs. Wide receivers, Marcel Aitman is doing big things when given the opportunity. Late round draft choice for the Raiders, and his name has been popping up there. And then Martavius' name has been dropping, and Jordy Nelson's name has been popping up, and then Marcel Aitman's name has been going good. But let's get into some quick reports about Seth Roberts. I believe, again, he's on the trade block. Nobody's picking him up. Why? Because they haven't showcased him. I believe this preseason, in the next couple games, I believe that they will showcase Seth Roberts and try to get him some touchdowns so they can relinquish his responsibilities and trade him with the Raiders. He's dropped a couple of passes in camp, and he heard it from the Raider Nation. Martavius Bryant has missed routes, and he heard it from Gruden. Jordy Nelson is picking up routes, and Marcel Aitman is apparently a beast at running and in the red zone. So those are my position reviews from what I've read of training camp. You got any other aspects to the wide receiver position that you could throw in there, Murf?
Yeah, the Raiders aren't going to trade Seth Roberts. He's got $4 million worth of dead money.
Well, they take on the money if he's traded. If they cut him, it's a penalty.
It's dead money. That doesn't matter what happens. He still counts as $4 million to the cap, whether they trade him or cut him.
I thought if they trade him, that's a contract that the other team takes on.
They take on his contract, but the dead money still counts to the cap. They don't pay it.
Isn't that the dead? Oh,
they don't have to scratch the check for the salary, but it still counts towards their cap number. So they're not going to tie up $4 million in cap space with a guy that's not there.
I thought if he was traded, that money kind of. My apologies.
That's all right. I don't. Somebody can fact check us on there, but I believe it does. If he's not on the roster, that $4 million still counts towards that cap figure, no matter what. So I don't see Seth going anywhere. The wide receiver room is crowded in a great way. Obviously Coop, obviously Jordy, obviously now Ryan Switzer's coming up. Martavis Bryant is a freaking rock star. And then you mentioned Marcel Aitman, like all I hadn't even gotten to Seth yet, right? But once upon a time, Seth was a pretty productive guy. The reason he's got that dumb contract is because of the Dread Pirate Roberts game. Like because of the way
Reggie McKenzie.
Well, but the guy, but he was
Jack Del Rio, the friends of everybody.
But don't forget that Seth was productive, and Seth helped us win football games, and this is why he got that contract. So, look, if he can return to any form of that, any semblance of that production, then we'll be fine. But I think wide receiver is probably the healthiest, maybe top to bottom of any of our positions. Certainly of this top three. Like it's going to be a battle to see which three guys are on the field, and they're all going to be great. They're all going to be great. So I'm fired up for that one.
In offensive line news, we all know the Donald Penn situation. He's still on the sidelines practicing. We don't know. They said he's getting a little bit closer, but, who knows what's going on. Colton Miller being talked up a lot. Brandon Parker, Colton Miller are getting a lot of chances at different positions. Colton's staying at left, but Brandon Parker has tried right tackle, right guard at camp. That's a pleasure to see these young draft picks getting some time. There's been a few injuries on offensive line. Gabe Jackson has been out a few days. Rodney Hudson was out a day or two. Kalechi was out a day or two. But nothing to worry about, just giving you your little bit of a camp update. But Feliciano has been – basically Gruden is experimenting on the offensive line with players as well to see their backup depth and all that other stuff. And that's pretty much it with offensive line. But we still, in my opinion – if we can solidify the left side of the line, whether it be Cole Taylor or Donald Penn, I think we still have one of the top 5 offensive lines in the league, even with Brendo Giacomini possibly, or whoever is at right tackle. But I still think we got let's say at least one of the top 8 offensive lines in the NFL.
I think that's fair. I think that's a great assessment, Mikey. Right tackle obviously is going to remain a concern just because you can't plug somebody in over there. You can't take Donald Penn and say, okay, you're going to go play right tackle. Like it's such a different position to shift from side to side. But outside of that, yeah, again, very, very, very healthy top to bottom when it comes to the positions there. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing how that works out.
Well, that does it for the main topic segment of the camp segment. Next week at this time, it will be game reviews.
Yeah,
we will be reviewing preseason games because we are at that point. So if there's anything you guys want to see in the main topic segment, please let me know in the forum below, and hopefully we'll be able to talk about it. All right, it's time for the fun segment. This show is moving along, thank goodness.
Yeah, we got a boogie.
It's time for Stump Murf. This is Raiders trivia. Apparently it has mixed NFL trivia in with it as well. But we're going to try to stump Murf because Murf considers himself to be the expert, and I like to prove him wrong.
Okay. Now, this is NFL and Raider trivia on here, so this is not – so I'm gonna prepare my brain to go outside the silver and black for some of these questions. So don't kill me, yes, Raider Nation, if I get them wrong.
I bought a box called Raiders Trivia, and we've learned through going through it that it has some weird questions that kind of don't involve the Raiders. But, hey, that's not my problem. And this is pre-1986.
Yes.
So what does that mean? All right, let's get right into it. Question number 1 from Stump Murf. It is, where did Mickey Marvin of the Raiders play college football?
Oh, my gosh, that's a great question. I don't know, so I'm going to say Penn State because that's
Penn State is the final.
Because that's where linebackers come from, yeah.
Penn State linebackers, that's true. He played at the University of Tennessee.
Oh, shame on me. I should have known that. Good UT connection there.
Should've.
Good question.
You're a moron. Who is the former Minnesota Vikings tight end who was a college basketball player, broke Lou Alcindor's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, field goal percentage record? Who is the former Minnesota Viking that broke Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's field goal percentage? Did Kareem kick field goals? Apparently he did.
I think they mean field goal like in basketball, like those are called field goals as well. I'm gonna go.
Think of a Raider kicker. Because it's called Raiders trivia. So let's hope it has something to do with.
No, but it's this basketball. This person played basketball, so this tight end. But they said, no, this is a tight end that played basketball.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
so he probably played for the Raiders.
Just like Tony Gonzalez played basketball at Cal. That's the same kind of thing. But I don't know. I'm going to go Kyle Rudolph, which is wrong. But I don't know who the Vikings tight end. I know the Vikings tight end was in 1968.
That's too recent. That's too recent.
Yeah.
Joe Sensor. He was a Raider tight end. Joe Sensor was a Raider tight end. I'm pretty sure.
That would have been from the 60s, right? If he played with Abdul-Jabbar. I don't know. All right,
that name sounds familiar. Yeah. Right. This trivia is just.
Oh, boy.
I should have bought a bit. They need to make a better trivia box.
The one you had last week was really good, I thought. That was very, very topical in terms of Raiders, but that's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, last week I found it on the internet last week. All right, what is the nickname of the sports team of Mickey Marvin's alma mater?
The Volunteers. If you went to University of Tennessee, he's a volunteer. Hey, I got one.
I think so. Yeah. So the Volunteers or Vols. There you go.
There we go. Yay! I'm on the board.
Question. We got one today. That's good. Question 4 from Murf. What 19-year veteran kicker retired following the 1985 season as a member of the Minnesota Vikings?
Gary Anderson.
I would say that sounds right. Let's see. John Stenerud.
Oh, Jan Stenerud? Yeah. Oh, yeah, Anderson was after that. Yeah, I know Jan Stenerud. Yeah. Okay. Dang it. Oh, man. I'm sucking on this one, Mikey.
It's all right. So am I. In what sport was Jan Stenerud a ranked competitor in Norway?
I'm going to go with rugby.
What's that thing with the ice?
Oh,
we
curling?
Got a team?
Curling?
Bobsledding. We got a bobsledding team.
No, it's got to be rugby.
All right. Jan Stenerud. I was hoping bobsledding. Ski jumping.
Oh, my gosh.
Jan Stenerud was a ski jumper? Really? All right. Question 6. What Minnesota Viking defensive? It's Minnesota questions. Like, I don't know. You're right. This is not right.
Go ahead.
Why does it say it on the box?
I don't read it to me. That's blurry. I can't see it. So read it.
What Minnesota Vikings defensive lineman accomplished the rare feat of winning the NFL's Most Valuable Player Award in 1971?
Jim Marshall.
All right.
It's either him or Alan Page.
No, you got it, Alan Page. You said it right at the end. It's Alan Page.
All right, here we go. Do I get it? Did I get a mulligan on that one? Did I get it right because it was Alan Page?
You got 2. I'm going to give you 2.
Thank you. All right. I'll take it. All
right, so there it is. Well, we apparently stumped Murf and everybody in Raider Nation with Raider trivia. All right, we got a few questions from Raider fans. Give us a call on the Raider Rants hotline. The number is on screen. And hopefully we will pick 3 or 4 or 5 of the best calls and have them on the show. But we might cut you off according to time. So let's get into one of the calls, and we're answering questions live. Me and Murf.
East Bay, Northern California. I think it's a bunch of bullshit what the media is portraying the situation between Gruden and Mac, and I see you are a little emotional about it on your show. First of all, defensive guys don't really talk to the offensive head coach. They deal with Gunther, and Gunther speaks with them frequently. Secondly, Gruden has a team to get together. Mac has to take care of his family. He's worried more about the financial things. Gruden's more worried about getting that team on the field, not wasting time with those things. The business things will work themselves out. I think it's a lot of propagation and bullshit to build it up to be something that it's not, and it's detrimental to the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, he's talking about Khalil Mack. We can address it. I was definitely emotional. I was getting a lot of hatred, and I'm like a woman. I guess I go through menopause, or I go through emo activities every couple days. And sometimes I just want to make a video and rant and rave. But we've spoke about the Khalil Mack situation. You had a great point that, John Gruden's got more to worry about than Khalil Mack. But I still think that John Gruden, if he can call Peyton Manning or stuff like that and bring him into camp, maybe he should make a phone call to Khalil Mack personally and get that done. what are your thoughts on just what he spoke about?
Agree with him 100%. And same position I had last week. I still hold to exactly what he said. Gruden's got other stuff to do. He's not worried about Khalil Mack's contract. Is it a concern of his? Sure, but that's not what his focus is. His focus is on coaching this football team.
Well, thank you for the phone call, and no matter what, I love you, my Raider Nation brother. Thank you for calling into the Mikey Murf Show. Let's get to the next caller.
Yo, what's up, Mikey, Raider, and Murf?
Pedro.
How you guys doing? This is Pedro from Albuquerque, New Mexico. If you can call me Raider Pedro, if somebody has that name, sorry. I love the Raiders. I'll be a Raider fan for life anyway. Dude, I am so pissed, man. Why is Garyon Conley hurt again, man? This is ridiculous.
Vitamin D.
You're a first-round pick. You have to play. I guess they develop nothing but injury-prone dudes over at Ohio State, huh? This is ridiculous. Come on, Urban Meyer. Really, dude? Oh, man. This is so annoying, man. I'm actually fighting with other people like in the Raider Nation because I simply say, oh, this is another Reggie McKenzie failure at a pick, you know, and then they get all butthurt. They defend the heck out of the dude. I'm like, really? He's not that great of a GM. He's not really good at evaluating talent either.
I like him. He's
great call.
He's off the ranting pace of me. I love it. Pedro, thank you for giving us a call. And we love characters. If you want to create a character on this show, you can call yourself, yo, I'm the Lonely Raider. You know, like, and you want to get on it? Come on, man. Create characters, but ask some good quality questions and give us your opinion. And unfortunately, we do have to cut some of you off because we are running quick. My apologies. But thank you very much, Pedro. Let's see if we can get to a third caller.
Mikey Raider, man. What's good? Watch Raider.
What's up, Watch Raider?
Yeah, man. I seen your video, guys. You got like me, man. You know, we like some prize fighters, man. Some boxers, man. You know what I'm saying? We just, you know, we take the punishment, but we can also dish it out, man. You know, and the most important thing is, man, you know, it's what I've been trying to do, man. Get all of the video makers and content makers for the Raiders, man. You know, we all connected. I'm trying to get all of us together, man. And I know, you know, through you, man, you know, you'll be down with something like that. So, you know, I've been behind the scenes just contacting, you know, fellow Raider Nation, man. We're going to get something together. As long as we stick together, man, the Raiders can't stop what we doing, man. We too smart.
Well, we cut it out. He said they need to go on and give us something. I apologize, Watch Raider. But look, this show is running quick. You know, we got some stuff to do today. But thank you very much. Watch Raider is a video maker. He's starting to show some clips that I was able to or not able to do many years ago. So check him out, Watch Raider. And we're definitely trying to get Raider Nation video makers together, be a part of everybody's show, because we would love to build this community bigger, better, brighter, and all that. But it's going a little slowly right now, but I appreciate it, Watch Raider. Murf, say something to Watch Raider, because I know you know who the dude is.
Absolutely, yeah. What's up, man? Appreciate you checking us out. Appreciate your support, as always. And I met him on one of your roundtables. I met him and Namone, who's Oakland Vegas Raider. And, you know, I think it's important for us as, like he said, as content creators to all have each other's back, not only in terms of keeping our stuff out there to prevent, you know, the lawsuits or whatever else, the legal side of it, you know, but I just think that there's enough news and there's enough takes and enough content to go around that we all should support one another. There's a lot of Raider Nation out there, and there's very little in terms of national reporting and national discussion, and even nowadays in terms of local discussion. There is no local Raiders talk shows going on. So it comes down to folks like us that podcast and videocast. So folks like Watch Raider, folks like yourself, folks like me, folks like Namone,
Pillaging Podcast,
those guys are great. You know, it's
the Raider Critique is now doing his stuff. Absolutely. But I think there's a lot of content now.
Retweet each other's podcast. Retweet each other's video cast.
Correct.
Promote that stuff out there, guys. Support what one another is doing. There is plenty to go around. Support everybody and what everybody's doing.
And we're all different characters, and we all got our niche. Whether you like us, you hate us, we're all a little bit different. And that's one thing why we call ourselves a nation. We are a nation of unique individuals.
It's family,
Thank you, Watch
man.
Raider.
It's family. Absolutely.
Family, baby.
That term is not used and thrown out there loosely. Raider Nation is family, period.
Yeah, my family. Do it in the Vin Diesel Fast and Furious voice in every episode. You're my family. Family.
What's up, Mikey? This is Raider Al from Moreno Valley, California. I just got one thing to say. Every
Raider fan around the world needs to relax. Okay? Khalil Mack's going to be a Raider for life. Okay? They're just going to negotiate the contract and see what numbers are right, so we're able to sign players in the future and we're still able to do things. Okay? It's not going to happen overnight, especially too. I'd rather us pay him first, and then the Rams are going to have to pay Aaron Donald more money.
All right, watch the cursing, guys. That has become an issue with censorship on my channel. So watch the cursing. I didn't have time to go through these, guys. Forgive me. That's my bad. I think you're thinking too simple. You think it's just easy. They're just taking their time. They're going to, it's become a media story because it's a very scary story. I think he's going to be tagged. I don't think he's going to get a long-term deal. I think you're thinking too simple, and that's just my opinion on that. But thank you so much for the call. Murph?
Yeah, I totally agree that Khalil Mack is going to be a Raider. Now, what capacity that looks like, I don't know, and I don't think anybody does, as I mentioned. But one way or the other, this guy's going to be a Raider for life.
Yeah, this is Raider Godzilla calling from Merced, California.
Really?
I was
Godzilla?
thinking.
I love that.
I think Raiders should get Des Bryant and put him at tight end. Put Des Bryant at tight end. Then you have another weapon. More weapons to explore. What do you think about that, guys? Mikey Raider.
He had me at Godzilla, and then he dropped Des Bryant at tight end. I don't know what just happened.
Do I need to respond? What had happened was he found a thing called ganja, right? So he started doing a thing called token. I'm a toker. I'm a midnight toker. And then he was watching Japanese films on the El Rey network, Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla. And then, I'm Raider Godzilla, man. I rampage things. We need to pick up Des Bryant. He's available. Des Bryant is available. And, he's so big, we need to put him at tight end. Like, your brain is definitely as big as Godzilla. But we love the phone call. We love your passion.
Oh,
but whoa, you took it to Goal Island on that level. But we love you, brother. Thank you for calling.
Thank you for calling. Raider Godzilla is a phenomenal nickname, by the way. That's some good gloss right there. That's good.
Keep calling with these interesting theories. If you guys have to put up with my theories, why not Raider Godzilla's theories? That's cool. Okay. Thank you guys very much for the phone calls. Now we are officially into the season. So we're going to do our game preview of preseason. The Raiders face the Lions on, I think it's the 10th of August, which is the next couple days on Tuesday, Wednesday. They have practices with the Lions, scrimmages, and then we play them on Friday night. And I'm thrilled. Football is back. Let me know we'll go question by question. What's your expectations for Friday night, just generally for the game?
I think it's important to kind of see, how the team gels on offense, especially from a line of scrimmage perspective, just to kind of see the timing of the offensive line, the timing of the exchanges, things like that. We shouldn't see any issues between Hudson and Carr, and between Carr and Marshawn or Doug Martin, which I'm assuming we'll probably see more of Doug than anybody early on. But just you want to see those little things. You want to see the mechanics be kind of sound at this point. That's real. And then, defense, kind of the same thing. But make sure that, there's not anybody jumping off sides, that everybody's playing, as disciplined as can be expected. Now, of course, the Lions aren't going to be having any crazy cadences and trying to get people to jump and all that. But you just want to see that there's just a certain semblance of some timing and mechanics on both sides of the ball.
I'm so worried that the play calling, because it is the first preseason game, is going to be so basic that they're going to say, that's John Gruden's playbook from 1988.
Yeah.
Here, the play calling is so basic. That's why he showed them film this week. I cannot wait. It's going to be ridiculous, but it's going to be basic. We might not see Derek Carr. If so, one series. What do you think? Not much. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's typically what it is, right? You're going to see him for a series or two, and then that's going to be it. And it's going to be real vanilla. I mean, there's not a lot to take away from preseason games. All these games come down to ultimately is evaluating depth positions. That's really what you're doing. You know what I mean? You got 90
Correct.
guys on the roster, and you got to cut them to 75. You're going to look at the guy that is going to occupy the third spot in the lineup at a position. I mean, that's really what these
But
games
I love
come
it.
down to.
I love it. Like,
It's fun. Oh, don't get me wrong. I love it too. You know,
I love watching the players nobody talks about make a big play, get recognized, get noticed. Then you're like, who is that dude? He looked pretty good. So I expect, battles with the third string, the fourth string, if even they have a fifth string. I don't even know about that.
Yeah, well, and I want to, and also too, as to answer the question, what is my expectations? I want to see how they're throwing flags. We saw in the Hall of Fame game the other night. They have been instructed to throw the flag aggressively when it comes to these certain calls, and then ultimately they'll back off when we get into the regular season. But what does that look like, and especially what does that look like in terms of our football team? So I don't want to see those, but that doesn't have anything to do with X's and O's or the Jimmies and Joes. That's game stuff, So, but that's what I like to see.
Yeah, I can't wait to see who our punt returners are, if they look pretty good, and I'm just interested. All right, give me your one battle to watch, your position battle.
Yeah, I think it's got to come at one of the tackle spots. I know I harp on right tackle a lot, but it's only because
you think they're going to play Colton Miller a lot? I don't.
Well, we're going to see Colton Miller at left tackle, but who is going to play right?
A lot, or no? Like one series?
Yeah, probably more than that. I mean, he's a rookie, right? So you definitely want to get him some work. I know he's a first-round pick, but he's got to go to work, man. So I think we're going to see him early, and I think that we'll see, if anybody, that might be one of those positions where we see him play a quarter or a half even. I wouldn't be surprised one bit.
Yeah, but you said right tackle, so I believe that one was Giacomini, Brendan Packer. That's the battle to watch.
That's the battle, and David Sharp over there as well. So that's where your battle is going to be, because there's uncertainty there. If it's not going to be Donald Penn at left tackle, it's going to be Colton Miller. There's not a lot of battling going on other than that.
Correct.
But when it comes to right tackle, you could freaking throw it up in the air. Like, we don't know who's going to play.
Feliciano, Brandon Parker. You could even move Brandon Parker to left tackle and see what he's got there during the game.
Who knows?
So that'll be very interesting.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's any battles to watch on defense. We got veterans. We know Arden Key's going to probably play some. Bruce Irvin's going to play some. There's no battle, in my opinion, on defense. Garen Conley's not going to play. So, what's that? My battle to watch is between Jalen Richard and what's his name, Washington.
Yeah.
If they can catch the ball, if they're going to be third string, if they're going to be cut, John Gruden's going to want to see what he has out of these running backs. So I expect the running backs, those three, Jalen Richard, that guy James something,
Butler,
and DeAndre Washington, to get a lot of play time, and I want to watch that battle. Give me your standout player, who you think from the game at the finale, who is the standout player.
I'm going to go with Switz Army Knife, man. I'm becoming a big fan of this kid. The more I learn about him, the more I see. Look, I didn't know anything about him when he was a Cowboy. Then I became aware of him watching the All or Nothing show on Amazon Prime, and watching him, and he was featured a little bit on that show as a Cowboy. And then, of course, when the Raiders...
He was mic'd up the other day. He was singing. That was pretty funny.
Oh, it was great. He's a personality. He's got grit. He's got, talent. Look, he's a little dude, man. He's 5'8" and a quarter. You know what I mean? So, but he's scrappy. He's fast. So he's got some wiggle to him. So I'm going to look forward to watching him return punts. Hopefully he can get back to some of that electricity that he brought to the North Carolina Tar Heels, and he can bring that to the NFL. So I think and he'll play a bunch, right? Because we're not going to see Nelson or Cooper or Bryant or these guys play. It's going to be Seth and Switzer. You watch. Those are going to be our big wideouts, or wide receivers anyways, in this game, and probably Aitman. So, yeah, so I think out of that group, I think that the most potential for talent and to stand out could be Switzer, because we'll see some special teams dynamics out of him to go along with it. So, I don't know. That's what I'm hoping for anyways. Either that, or I'll give you one more. Either that or Arden Key is going to eat freaking Lions for lunch, and that will be amazing to watch. I'm fired up for him, too. As much as I'm fired up about Switzer on offense, I'm fired up for Arden Key on defense, man. I think we stole Arden Key in this draft, and Mo Hurst too, but Key's going to get the good fortune of bending that corner, man, and blowing up quarterbacks.
It's going to be fun to watch these young players definitely battle it out, because Arden Key is starting to feel himself, because he's got some good reports, and I can't wait to see that. If I have to pick a standout player, you know what? I'm just going to say Doug Martin. I just think they might feature him a little more than I expect, but maybe he'll score a couple of touchdowns. So I'm not going to go anybody on defense. I don't know. Let's say if they give an MVP, maybe Doug Martin has one touchdown and like 70 yards. I don't know.
There you go.
But he might possibly be the MVP or standout. Final score prediction. Give me your final score prediction for the Lions-Raiders.
Oh, let's say 28-10 Raiders. I'll never pick them to lose, but I'll just say that.
28 points in the first preseason game for the Raiders.
Yeah, and 14 of those come on special teams.
28-10, so says Murf. I'm going to give it 13-10 Raiders. Somehow pull it out with an Eddie Pinheiro kick late in the fourth quarter. I don't know why not.
Well done. Hey, there's your standout player. Let Eddie Pinheiro go kick 5 field goals. That's probably more likely of what's going to happen. There you go.
Well, no, that could have been a touchdown and 2 field goals if 13 points.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean in pertaining to your score. I just meant watch him go out there and kick a bunch of field goals, and that would be a thing. Yeah.
Murf,
yes.
Your math sucks. Just kidding. There it again, man. We cut this show. We're actually at 100 minutes, pretty much 103 minutes.
We did good. We did a lot better this week. Absolutely. We kept it on task. Thank you, Mikey, for cutting me off.
Wasn't a 3-hour marathon, thank goodness. Tune in every Monday night at 4 p.m., 7 Pacific, for Mondays with Mike and Murf. Next week, we will have the game review where we will go over the Detroit Lions-Raiders preseason game in full effect. And we're going to come in it with our perspectives on what we'd like to see moving forward. And we're going to have more nonsense and bull stuff and some fun. So did you enjoy yourself, Murf? Any quick ending shout-outs, comments that you want to give to anybody?
I did. I always have a blast on here on Mondays with Mikey and Murf, talking with you, Mikey, of course, and have gotten amazing feedback from not only here on this show, but also the listeners of Raiders Fan Radio, which is the podcast that I host every week that you can find on iTunes and Stitcher and Podcast Addict and Spotify and iHeartRadio, and anywhere you could find a podcast, you could find Raiders Fan Radio. But our listeners have fully embraced you and this collaboration, and I think that we now, if we had listeners that were exclusive before, they certainly are not now, and they are definitely going back and forth and enjoying both of the shows in their entirety. And so it's been great. I love this collaboration, and I'm thankful to be here. And so I look forward to next week when we actually get to talk about Raiders football. And most importantly though, Mikey, your theme song, dude. Your theme song is caught on. I've heard from so many people this week about how they can't stop singing the Mondays with Mikey and Murf jingle, my man. It's awesome.
I grew up, watching theme songs and intros, and that's what I love. I mean, every show, no matter what it is, reality, it needs a theme song with lyrics. People need to get behind it. On that tip, I just wanted to say, it's Monday with Mikey and Murf. We're talking Raiders and football dirt. Because we, a new Raider talk show, we getting positive. Let's go!